He, huh, he. But there is a signal here on your receiver. Here there is no signal. Here is a signal. It seems you're okay, but okay, so there's a problem here from this cable, from this. Double check. Check, check, sound check, sound check. Sound check, sound check. It's okay? It's okay, it's okay. Again, it's okay? Okay.
Hello. So he's on his way. We don't know. He's just leaving the PM's office, and he should be around 10, 15 minutes. He should be coming. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
1, 2. Don't laugh. Hear the questions. Do you need to ask questions? We have civil commission will take shots from the people asking questions. Okay. From the TV, let them know, and then maybe we can get it from them. Okay. Wonderful.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Okay. Another thing. Now there's. Yes.
Okay, could you come in and please be seated? Thank you. You need to cut off the air conditioning because otherwise it's too loud. So hello and welcome everyone here to this to our FPA event today. I'm happy to welcome our guest, the Board of Peace High Representative for Gaza, Nickolay Mladenov. Thank you for being here. We are very lucky to have you today. I know you're shuttling between Egypt and the region countries here. So I think you don't really need an introduction. Many of us who've been here longer know you still also from serving as the UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East peace process for many years here. So you know the region quite well. And we are really happy today because you know we would like to hear where things stand after the Board of Peace was created. And that gives us an opportunity to focus also on Gaza again, which has you know, attention has shifted elsewhere in recent months. So we will hear some first-hand observations from your part. And as you know, we as foreign reporters, and this is of particular importance for all of us here, we are no longer allowed by Israel to enter Gaza. So all the work we are seeing coming out of Gaza is obviously done by our Palestinian colleagues who continue to risk their lives to delivering the news, and they continue to face really impossible working conditions in Gaza. So thank you very much for being here with us. So I just want to say we do have first opening remarks. They will be broadcast live. We have a pool, so all the material will be obviously then distributed. And then this will be followed by a recorded Q&A session. I don't know how much time we have, but I hope we get as many questions in as we can. So thank you very much to you for being here, and also thank you to Murat, I just don't see you here, who facilitated all of this, and you will be helping us later with the Q&A. So welcome again, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and let me begin first by apologizing for being late for this meeting. I just concluded a meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu, which is part of our regular consultations with all sides. And as you said, we're shuttling in between Israel, Egypt, and many other places in the Middle East to try and make sense of the whole situation and how we move forward in order to help the people of Gaza. But if there's one thing that we cannot succeed with, that is fighting Jerusalem traffic. So apologies again for the delay. I've really wanted to have this conversation for quite some time, and there is really a lot to say, and much actually about what the Board of Peace is doing around Gaza has not been said clearly enough, I think, publicly, and hopefully today will be part of that effort to lift some of the speculations about what is going on, and I think you all deserve to hear from me directly where the process actually stands. I'm here to talk about Gaza. I'm not here to talk about Hamas. I'm not here to talk about the negotiating room in Cairo where we meet or anything else. I'm here to talk about actually 2 million human beings, some of them your colleagues, but 2 million human beings who have lived through more in the last 2 years than most of us, in fact all of us, are likely to face in our lifetime, if ever. And today they wake up in tents and in shelters, they try feeding their children, they look for how to survive. That is actually the population to which our work in the Board of Peace and the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza is focused on. Long before I actually, let me divert a little bit, long before I actually started this job, when I was in my previous capacity here, we were on a visit to Gaza, and we went to see a school. And I get very emotional when I tell the story, actually, because the children in that school were running a school parliament. They were dividing themselves into political parties and debating and having elections and representatives, the usual things of a democratic life that, we or many of us are quite used to. It was one of the most inspiring things that I ever saw in my time here in Jerusalem and in Gaza. But it was also one of the saddest things that I ever experienced, because I knew very well then that none of these children would ever sit in a real parliament. Unlikely any of them would ever leave the Gaza Strip and the confines that they were born in. That most of them would go to school, continue on to university, and end up unemployed, at best. That the structural conditions of life, the closure, the political deadlock, the absence of any credible future, made unemployment and made despair actually more probable for any of them than anything that they were showing me in that moment it's in the school. You can feed people, you can build them a house, you can probably build a road, but if you do not give them a prospect for the future, you have actually only improved a day. You have not changed anyone's life. And the work that we're now about to do, or we're doing with the Board of Peace, is not just about making another day better in Gaza, or slightly better, or slightly more bearable. It is about giving the people of Gaza, the Palestinians of Gaza, a future. And I want to talk a little bit more now about where we stand with that, 7 months since the beginning of this initiative. We have a ceasefire. It is holding. It is not perfect. It is far from perfect. There are violations every day, and some of them are very serious. And let's be honest about these violations and what they mean in practice. They mean that civilians still are being killed, that families live in fear, that delays and restrictions continue to affect humanitarian access and daily life. For many Palestinians in Gaza, in fact for all Palestinians in Gaza, the war does not yet feel fully over, and I think this is the reality that we all in the Board of Peace and our partners recognize fully. We monitor the violations, we work to reduce them, but the central fact of the matter is that the guns have largely fallen silent in the last 1 year, almost 1 year, across Gaza, and for the first time in 2 years, we have relative stability. The hostages are home, and this matters both to Israelis and Palestinians. There are interesting numbers that can be quoted here, and you know some of them, and probably there are even more. Until very recently, a lot of these numbers would have been quite unimaginable. Before last October, around 1,300 trucks were entering Gaza each week, and roughly 90% of them were being diverted by armed groups. Today, that number of trucks is often over 4,000 a week, and the diversion has fallen to around 1%. The number of people reached with food assistance has gone from 400,000 to about 2 million. But none of that is sufficient, let's be frank. None of that amounts to recovery. It is real, it is measurable, and it would not have happened had the framework that we have now not brought us here. And yet 7 months since the ceasefire, the door to the future of Gaza is still closed. It is not what the Palestinians were promised, and it is not what they deserve, and it is not giving Israel the security to move forward as the Israeli people also want. Improving the conditions of life in Gaza today is not the same thing as building the conditions for tomorrow. And the 20-point plan that brought us to this point has opened the door for the future, but let me explain a little bit more precisely what that plan actually proposes and what it is based on. As we all know, it was proposed by President Trump, it was endorsed by the Arab and Islamic State, it was enshrined in UN Security Council Resolution 2803, and every government that I speak to, whether it is in Europe, whether it is in the Middle East, every single government, whether they're on the board of peace or not, has come to us and said, how can we help? What can we offer? What can we put on the table that helps the people of Gaza? The plan offers reconstruction at scale. It has $17 billion over a period of 10 years committed to it for that purpose. Money that is ready to be deployed the moment that Gaza can rise. And the work waiting for that money is, frankly, quite historic in scale. If we look at the tens of millions of tons of rubble that needs to be removed, at the number of people, over 1 million people who need some sort of permanent shelter and basic water and sanitation, this is, if by any scale, a generation of work for Gaza. The plan offers what is very important to the Palestinian people: staged Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. And it offers Palestinian governance, civilian, technocratic, apolitical administration run by Palestinians for Palestinians. The National Committee for the Administration of Gaza, with whom we have been working for months and who are ready to deliver services, ensure public order, and coordinate reconstruction across the Gaza Strip. The plan offers a reopened Rafah crossing and the predictable movement of people and goods. It offers an end to the endless arguments over dual-use materials. And God only knows that when I came back to this job, the first thing I heard about was bags of cement. Those were the last things I heard when I lost my previous job. Dual-use materials. Because under proper governance and a proper security framework, you do not need to count the screws and pipes and bags of cement going into Gaza. That will be normalized. It offers a real economy for Gaza. It offers, ultimately, a political horizon to Palestinians, to self-determination and statehood. This is the foundation for reuniting Gaza and the West Bank under a reformed Palestinian Authority. This is in the plan. This is in the UN Security Council resolution. This is what we are guided by. Reconstruction, withdrawal, governance, jobs, and a political horizon. That is what is actually on the table, and that was what was put on the table by President Trump with the 20-point plan. Now let me tell you, as directly as I can, what we have also offered Hamas and the Palestinian factions to get to that future. Sadly, much of what has appeared about this in public is either partial or sometimes simply wrong. Since December of last year, we have been working with the guarantors of the ceasefire, Egypt, Turkey, Qatar, and the United States, to translate the 20-point plan into a detailed implementation roadmap. In December, the critical meeting took place in which the framework or the basic principles of the framework were agreed to. And I want to be absolutely explicit in thanking all the countries that are the mediators in this, Egypt, Turkey, Qatar, and the United States, for the relentless effort that they have put in designing, thinking through the roadmap that has been offered as part of the implementation of the 20-point plan. We developed it together. It is now a 15-point document. We have sat with the Hamas delegation in Cairo many times. Two versions of this roadmap have been put on the table. The second was actually revised explicitly to address the questions and concerns that the Palestinian factions raised in our discussions. This was not, and it never was, a take it or leave it text. It was, and it remains, a very serious document. This is the first time, in fact, that Gaza has a plan for its future, a plan that is well thought through, a plan that is feasible, and a plan that is for all Gazans. And here's what it contains. It is based on a very, very important principle, and that is reciprocity. Each step that we suggest to be taken by one side triggers a step to be taken by the other. And each step is confirmed, or should be confirmed, by an independent monitoring mechanism before the next step is taken. That mechanism is being built around a very, very hard fact that we all know. Trust between Israelis and Palestinians is well below zero. The architecture that we're designing is done in a way that nobody is asked to trust anybody. Everyone is asked to verify, and as one side delivers, the other side should deliver as well. If a step is missed, the next step does not happen. This is the very important basic principle of the proposal that we have on the table. It includes an option for voluntary buyback of weapons in Gaza. It offers conditional amnesty for those who hand in their arms and choose to live within the law. We're not interested in retribution. We're interested in transition. It offers reintegration support, including direct financial provisions for those who cannot keep their positions of authority in this transitional process. We are asking the political leadership of those who govern Gaza now to step aside. This is required by the Security Council resolution in the 20-point plan. But those who follow the law and do their jobs have a place in the new Gaza. For those who cannot accept the framework, it offers safe passage to third countries. And this is important, and let me underline it. We're not asking Hamas to disappear as a political movement. A political party that disavows armed activity can compete in national Palestinian elections. The roadmap preserves that possibility. What is not negotiable, however, is that armed factions or militias with their own military command and control systems, with their own arsenals or tunnel networks, can exist alongside a transitional Palestinian authority. This is not a political demand. This is a requirement of the process. So this is what is on the table right now: a serious, structured, verifiable, dignified pathway forward. And once again, the first ever real plan for the future of Gaza that takes the various interests into consideration and the needs of the people. And while we have worked on this roadmap, the rest of the picture has not stood still. The work of the Board of Peace and its partners has not waited for the negotiations in Cairo. Let me give you a little bit of a shape of where we are. The National Committee is ready, and under the very able leadership of Dr. Ali Shaat and his colleagues, the committee has spent months preparing the technical foundations for transition in Gaza. The standards for civil service, the personnel procedures, the legal architecture, the working relationships that need to exist with doctors, engineers, teachers, municipal staff, all these people on the ground. The NCAG is not a committee waiting for the day. It is a committee that has been preparing and is preparing for that day, and it is ready for it. Humanitarian systems are being discussed constantly and are scaling through our partnerships between the Board of Peace, the United Nations, the European Union, and other implementing partners on the ground. We're not looking to take control of everything that goes into Gaza in terms of assistance. What we're looking is to make sure that everything that goes into Gaza as assistance is coordinated with the National Committee once it takes responsibility for the situation on the ground. Reconstruction planning is also well advanced. We're doing it sector by sector. We're costing things, we're coordinating with donors, and we're ready to begin in earnest once the conditions allow it. In fact, our projections are such that we believe that tens of thousands of public sector jobs will be created just within the first year of reconstruction in Gaza. The architecture for the economy of the future, banking, payments, trade, customs, predictable movement of goods, all of this needs to be planned and designed in a way that it meets Palestinian requirements and Palestinian law and the environment in which we work with. None of this is being improvised. None of it is actually starting from zero. All of this is real, and the institutions and the plans that we have developed are real. And as I said, this work is not standing still while the negotiations continue. Our task now, as the Board of Peace, and the task of our partners, is to discuss and plan the next steps of moving from the preparation phase to the phase of delivery when conditions allow that to happen. This is not a message of coercion. I want to be very clear about that. It is exactly the opposite of coercion. It offers the Palestinians in Gaza, for the first time in a very long while, a real choice. The National Committee is ready to enter, to govern, to protect, wherever coercion is lifted and the conditions are appropriate. So, why am I being so open about all of these things and so direct with you today? Because I believe that the people of Gaza can no longer wait. They're impatient, and let me be clear of where that impatience comes from. It is Palestinian impatience. It is not Israeli impatience. It is not American impatience. It is not theoretical or political. It is Palestinian impatience. And my impatience, and I will own it, comes from the fact that there are 2 million people in Gaza still living in tents, still living amongst the rubble, still living with violence, with loss, with profound uncertainty. While we fret over punctuations in a roadmap whose substance has been negotiated many times over. The urgency that I bring, or we bring, into every meeting comes from that requirement, these 2 million people who are waiting. And there is something else which I think we should be very honest about, because it is in plain sight for all of us. In the areas that it still controls, Hamas is consolidating its grip on the population. It is taxing people in the street who have nothing left to give. It is blocking Palestinian workers and contractors, approved by the Board of Peace, from building temporary communities intended to build shelter and for displaced Gazans out of rodent-infected tents and into humane living conditions. To what end? To squeeze better terms of a negotiation? To prove that nothing in Gaza moves without your permission? To foreclose the choice that the Palestinians in Gaza might otherwise make about their own future before they can make it themselves? Across Gaza today, there are Palestinians who continue to hold to the simple hope that living in dignity, safety, and peace is possible. Despite years of conflict, of loss and uncertainty, many continue to speak up for a different future for themselves and for their children, sometimes publicly, sometimes quietly, but always with remarkable resilience. Long before the war, many Gazans were already expressing a basic and universal aspiration, the desire to live normal lives, to work, to raise families, to move freely, to live without fear. And that aspiration has endured through every hardship, because it reflects something deeply human that cannot be extinguished. We see that resilience, we hear that determination, and we know that people have hopes and ambitions, and they have a right to a future. And that is really where our responsibility comes from. Which brings me to a principle that is very important to understand as the basis for this whole framework and for this approach. And sometimes this is also misunderstood, so I want to clarify it. One authority, one law, one weapon. This is a Palestinian principle. It is, in fact, a universal principle of good governance. It is a principle that every Arab country supporting this process has reiterated. It is a principle that the leaders of the Palestinian people, including President Abbas, many years ago, and very often has said that one authority, one law, and one weapon are critically important to the future of Gaza and to the future of the Palestinian people. It is something that we cannot compromise on. No recovery process anywhere in the world has ever succeeded while parallel armed structures continue to operate outside a legitimate transitional authority. None. You cannot build a future with armed groups running the streets, hiding in tunnels and stockpiling weapons. You cannot deliver reconstruction with militias on every corner. The day that the Palestinian people achieve the self-determination that this framework opens the door to, that future will need a single legitimate Palestinian authority that holds the monopoly on the use of force, under law, accountable to its people. And this is what we're building towards. None of what we're doing is asking Palestinians to surrender their weapons to Israel. We're asking them to consolidate the institutions on which their future depends. And that is what the framework and the roadmap is for. This is what reconstruction depends on. And this is what Israeli withdrawal depends on. And this is what the political horizon depends on. And here, if I may, I want to say a few words to the Palestinian people in Gaza. Because many of them have also heard about this framework largely through the voices of others. And I want to say to them very clearly, this plan is for you. It is not designed in your absence. It was designed around your future. The reconstruction is for your homes, your hospitals, your schools. The jobs are for your children. The governance is by your hands, run by Palestinians, under Palestinian law. The political horizon is your Palestinian political horizon. Nothing in this framework asks you to give up your identity, your faith, your history, your dignity. In fact, it acts exactly the opposite. It asks for the conditions under which all of these things together can flourish, can come together and be celebrated. We hear everyone in Gaza. We hear them plainly. We hear their pleas for homes, not tents, for jobs, not for aid queues, for law, not for fear, for a future of freedom, not for a miserable present. And that opportunity is there. With the National Committee, with the work of the Board of Peace, with everything that the donors have allowed us to do, with the partnerships that we are creating, and this is where we need to get to. Let me close this very long statement. We have done two very important things. The first was President Trump's 20-point plan, and now is the implementation roadmap. I dare say that nobody has ever reached this far in an attempt to provide Gaza with a comprehensive solution that opens opportunities for the future. But of course, the most important steps are still to be made. There is a choice for the Palestinian people between continuing to live with the misery, violence, and uncertainty of the past to moving towards a future of dignity and opportunity. There is a choice that Israel needs to make in terms of how it ensures its own security and how it allows Gaza to prosper in the interests of both peoples. Gaza is a very hard problem, and you know this just as well as I do. There's nothing easy about Gaza. It is probably the hardest problem in the region, and it has been with us in one form or another for decades. It will not be solved in a few months. It will not be solved by a single speech or a single signature, but it is solvable. And the framework on the table is the most ambitious, most resourced, and most internationally backed attempt in a generation to actually solve it, rather than once again just manage it and push it under the cover. The Board of Peace has the mandate to deliver. We have the resources to deliver. We have the partnerships that make this possible. And we have the plan for it. We have the basis in the 20-point plan, and we have the implementation framework that has been put on the table. Diplomacy remains open, but the people of Gaza cannot be asked to wait indefinitely while the same questions that are being discussed second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. We have to continue engaging. but we also have to move forward. There is no third option. There's the status quo, which is miserable, and there's the option to move forward, which is provided by the plan. This is the choice that is before us. And on behalf of our whole team, based in Cairo, in Israel, everywhere, we are fully committed to make sure that we move forward with the implementation of the plan and that we do it in a responsible manner that acknowledges everyone's concerns, everyone's constraints, but with a North Star in this, that we are not there to just provide a little bit more aid to the people of Gaza today. We're there to find a way out of the problem that Gaza has presented for such a long time in a way that gives people stability, security, and is based on the plan that has been approved by the UN Security Council resolution. So please bear with us as we take the time, the effort, the detailed study, and the careful steps that we need to make in order to make this situation move forward in a successful manner. Thank you. Happy to take questions. Yeah, thanks. Perfect.
Hello, Mr. Mladenov, Jeremy Diamond, CNN. Thank you for taking the time today. As you know, Israel has not upheld all of its commitments under the first phase of this ceasefire. And since you've just come back from a meeting with the Prime Minister, I wonder if you could tell us whether you pressed the Prime Minister to fully uphold Israel's commitments under the current phase of the ceasefire. And if not, how do you expect Hamas to agree to disarm as part of the next phase when Israel is not currently upholding its commitments? And then a second question, if you will. As you know, for over 2.5 years now, the foreign press has been barred from entering Gaza and reporting independently. I wonder whether that has been a point of discussions that you've had with Israeli officials, and if not, whether you would commit today to making that a priority of your work. Thank you.
Do you want to take a few questions?
I think if we can take more questions, and then we'll put it on.
Okay.
Yeah? No, go ahead. It's for you.
Sorry, I have a live in 1 hour. Paola Nuremberg from Italian.